Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. So we're back on shop upgrades, shop updates, so on and so forth, all things that way. And what we're going to work on today is something that I should have done a very long time ago, but since I'm redoing everything else now is the time to do it. So sitting right here, and then a couple other boxes right there, we have the new air distribution network for the shop. So prior to this, I'd always just draped an air hose across the shop. That was well enough, it worked well enough. But in redoing everything else, I really wanted a better system of air distribution rather than just pull a hose across the shop, knock things over, so on and so forth. So what I have here are two PEX airline kits. All this stuff on the right hand side is all 3/4 inch, and all this stuff right here in the blow molded plastic there, this line, all that stuff is smaller diameter. I think it is 1/2 inch OD, 3/8 ID. And then I have 3 of these Flexzilla hose reels and a few other odds and ends that are on the way currently but are not here right now. And what all of this is going to do is give me the ability and provide the system to have air in different locations in the shop without having to pull an air hose across the floor. So the 3/4 inch section, this is going to be the main section for the air system. So like the feed section, larger diameter, larger volume, so on and so forth. The smaller diameter stuff will be all of the drops and everything going to the hose reels, and I'll probably have a couple of hose connections throughout the shop as well, just to have the ability to plug an auxiliary air hose in if need be. So these kits are pretty comprehensive, and we can use the 3/4 inch kit since it is all laid out here. And you have some 3/4 NPT plugs. We have this guy here, which this is actually a deburring tool for the PEX line itself. We have a cutter. We have all of these drain valves. We have straight connectors. We have little manifolds, T connectors, and then all of the hose clips themselves that will actually retain the hose to the wall. And the 1/2 inch or 3/8 or whatever the size the smaller kit is, it has a lot of the same components. You can see all the connectors and 90s and brass straights and plugs on this side. This side we have the manifolds and the drain valves and all things that way. So with all of this stuff, the 3 hose reels and everything else I have coming, I should be able to knock all of this out and actually have a really nice air distribution system / network to get air just about anywhere in the shop that I need it. So the first thing I need to do prior to starting to put any of the PEX line in place or anything like that is figure out exactly where my point A and my point B are going to be. So point A is pretty simple. Point A is the air compressor itself. And yesterday I came in and I pulled the old regulator off, disconnected the air line, all of that. And now right here, if you see that ball valve, that is our point A. That is where the compressor feeds out of, and that is where the initial connection for the 3/4 inch PEX line is going to be. So we'll run out of that compressor outlet, come up to the new regulator that will be here in a little while, and from that regulator, that will run the PEX line up to the ceiling, and we'll start our distribution network that way. And the way that I am thinking about doing this, or think what makes the most sense to me, is to have one hose reel over in this corner for another lift that will eventually end up going in this bay. I will have another, or the second hose reel will be over on this post in between the two lifts, so that way I can have one hose reel act for either side, either lift in these two bays right here. And the third hose reel will go somewhere probably up in this corner right here, and that will be air for this entire fab shop. And if I leave this door open or pull the hose underneath of the door, will account for the welding room as well. So I can always add more to this as time goes on and if I need it, but that's at least my initial assessment and my initial plan as I do this. And the same as any project like this, plans may change as I am in the middle of working on it, but that is the idea that we're going to go with, at least to start. I've made my first connection with this PEX pipe, PEX line kit, and now I actually have an idea of how it goes together, so let's talk about the anatomy of one of these connections. So right here we have a PEX fitting. And what this is, at least this particular one, it's a 1/2 inch NPT thread. You can see right above my index finger right there. And then essentially it is an O-ring sealed compression fitting. So the inside of it, you have this nut collar, you have the actual compression sleeve, and then on the inside of the fitting, there is a nipple that is dual O-ring sealed. So with a section of PEX line, what you do is take the collar, you slide it over top of the PEX line like so. You take the compression sleeve, slide it over top of the line, and then lubricating the O-rings here, you simply slide everything together. And I'm not going to put it the whole way together right now, as I have not lubed these O-rings and I definitely need to use this fitting. But you put everything together like so, and as you tighten this whole thing down, it mashes the compression sleeve into the inside of the fitting right here. And the tighter that you tighten the actual nut down, the tighter that it squeezes everything together and the tighter it seals everything up. So right now I have the line going from the compressor outlet right here up to the inlet of the regulator. And now from the outlet of the regulator, I need to go the whole way up to the ceiling. I will fasten this together with one of these T-fittings at the top side and a couple of the plastic clamps and little retention clip clamp deals, a couple of these guys, and that will be fastened up to the top of the ceiling, and from there I will branch off and run this line to where it needs to run inside of the shop here. Well, the first section of the PEX line is now put in place and we are up to the ceiling. So from compressor outlet, we go up to regulator, regulator up to that T-fitting, if you guys can see it, right up there. So the line has a little bit of a wave to it, but this PEX line is a little bit cumbersome to work with. I don't know what exactly I was expecting, but it doesn't play the nicest in terms of bending and fitting up. But I got it done, and now I can start making the runs from there. So I think what the logical thing to do will be to figure out where I'm at in terms of position on this wall right here, and from there I can come on the floor and measure out with the tape measure. I can cut a section of PEX to suit and then put everything up from there. So I need to account for one drop that will come down through the corner of this room right here, probably in this area, something like that. And I bought a drill bit so I can drill through the wood and run the drop that way. So I think that will make the most sense right there. And then beyond that, I'm going to run a line out to the corner over there, so that way it'll make it nice and easy to get an air blowgun up there and to blow that heater out before I start it each winter. We'll have the first drop or breakout all set up on this air distribution system. So we come up to a T fitting, the T runs over to another T, and then comes down to this manifold right here. And at this manifold is when I'll make the transition between 3/4 inch PEX and then the 1/2 inch or 3/8 PEX. And going down, if I can get my foot out of the way, I drilled this hole in my framework, and I'll run the line right down through there to another manifold that will be fastened to the wall, and then I can get everything squared away in regards to the hose reel that will go inside the fab room. So I'll take care of that later, and for right now I'm going to come off of this branch of the T and continue making my way down that way. So I'll have one additional drop or breakout like this, and that will go over to that post right there where the first of the 3 hose reels will be mounted up. So I guess let me get off of the top of my structure here and measure out for the next section of PEX, get it cut, fit, everything like that, and we can continue on our way with this project. Day one of installing all of these PEX lines is now in the books, and I got what I think is going to be the most complicated leg squared away. So let's take a look at it and discuss what is going on with it. So again, from compressor outlet, comes out, goes up to the ceiling, and coming along, you guys can see it through there maybe, comes along to here, T's, and comes along that rafter down into one manifold that steps down to the smaller size, down to a second manifold, and then into the hose reel. So I have this little ball valve on the bottom side of it, so that way I can drain any residual water out of this leg of the whole air system. And I'll put ball valves like that in the bottom of every terminating manifold, so that way I can drain the water out wherever need be. So excuse the lack of tidiness here and kind of the crooked upper manifold there. I really despise being up on the ladder. I have a pretty good fear of heights. So it took everything that I had to get the line put up the way that it is right now. So if those things are a little bit crooked, it is what it is, and it'll just have to be like that. So I still have certainly not conquered that fear, but just had to deal with it to get this job done, and I'm really glad that that portion of it, because this is the one that I was the most fearful of and that I was the most sketched out about. It's all squared away aside from maybe another little retaining clip or retaining clamp right there, but I can always put that on later when I actually have a floor on the second story of this building. Well, I started off today by running the, I guess, right-going branch from this perspective for this PEX system. So, comes off that T, runs over, and I also got the second hose reel mounted up and ready to go almost. So, I changed up the way that I did this manifold, and rather than doing one manifold up top for the 3/4 inch line, then stepping it down to the smaller line and going to the smaller manifold, I just used a couple of adapter fittings to step this 1/2 inch NPT port down to 1/4 inch to come over and feed my hose reel. So I'll be able to do some comparisons between how effective the step system is as opposed to running straight 3/4 down to this one. But that's just kind of the way that this went, because frankly I'm running out of connectors and fittings for the smaller diameter line. So now I need to go from the T where this branch terminates a little bit farther down, and I've already pre-cut my section of PEX that will run from that T over to the other manifold over on this side. And this one I set up a little bit differently, which I'll explain why here in one moment. This one is set up so I have an airline connection right here. Again, a ball valve on the bottom to drain water out. But this is set up so I can connect a short hose to it and clean out this heater come the beginning of the cold seasons here each year. So that way I can make sure I don't burn the shop down with dust and debris and so on and so forth in the heater. So at this point, I can run the next section of PEX that I already cut over to this area, and then I'm just waiting on the fittings for the PEX that will go in the top of this manifold and the one down on that side to actually fully terminate everything and have everything be good to go that way. Everything is now installed and tightened down, and as best as I can tell, finished for the PEX kit installation. So we'll go over here and use this one as an example. I got my other two PEX fittings in. They're all tightened down. Everything is clamped along the wall. I went and got some brand new quick connects. All of the hose reels are all tightened down. and everything like that. And I even went ahead and the hose reel inside of the new welding and fabrication structure, albeit just temporary, this is put in place so that way I could figure out the routing for all of the lines and everything. So I'm pretty sure that I have all my ball valves in the closed position. Yeah, that one up there is closed. Can't use that doorway right now. And the one over here, yeah, that is closed. So I guess at this point in time, the only thing to do is to turn the compressor back on, pressurize it, and then throw the main ball valve. And fingers crossed that we don't have any leaks, and fingers crossed this all goes well. All right, I went ahead and I resealed both sides of the regulator, as that's where I heard a little bit of a leak coming from. So if we pressurize the system, don't feel any air, so let's give it more pressure. That seems nice and quiet. So let's go and check all of the hose reels. So this one, don't hear anything leaking from it. And if I can reach up, now I'm not going to try that. Knowing my luck, as soon as I hit that ball valve down, I won't be able to reach it, and that would be a bad deal. So we'll test that with an air tool here in a moment. But walking back by this, nice and quiet. Coming over to this hose reel right here. If I hit this ball valve, we have air pressure. And to this one here, air pressure. And going to this one here. Oh. We have air pressure. So all of my outlet ports, air pressure has been achieved, or presumably. Let's go over and test that one over there with an air tool just to be safe, and then I'll feel much better about it. All right, so I brought one of my little grinders over. So if we hook this up, we have air pressure there as well. So all the ports have pressure. We don't have any more leaks in the compressor. And I think at this point in time, we can call this a job well done. So now that I have an air distribution system that complements and fits in with the rest of all these shop renovations, I have another thing that my buddy Sean and I knocked out off camera that I want to show you. So in order to do this, I need to turn the lights off. So just bear with me for one moment. So with the lights off, you can see that it is fairly dark in here. But if I press this button, if I can get to the right spot, boom, we have some colorful LED ribbon lights going around the perimeter of the shop. Now, these are just Amazon specials, so they're certainly not the highest quality, and as you can see by the change in color, there's something funky going on with the lights, but after all the effort to get them put up, I'm not going to redo them anytime soon, and the colors that, at least with this setting, that present themselves, kind of a cyan, a normal blue, and then the green, the colors all kind of work together and complement each other. So although it is not uniform, it's going to be good enough for what it is. I'm not climbing all around on the ladder and or bugging Sean to get up on the ladder again to restring other lights that will just end up being a gamble as well. So pretty cool. I've always wanted to have kind of a neat ambient lighting vibe in the shop, and I'm not sure how well the camera is going to pick it up but in person with the naked eye, I think that was achieved pretty well. So now with the lights back on and another big portion of this shop renovation and shop rebirth, I guess at this point in time it would be, knocked out as well, I think that's going to be about the end of this one. So tomorrow for me, but next week for you guys, we will begin knocking out the wiring for this new structure. So that's a huge step forward, and that is the last big outstanding step before I can do the finish work for this, get all the tools positioned and everything else, and get back to working on car stuff again. So we have that to look forward to, and then obviously all of the stuff with the project cars and different customer projects and things like that will be happening in the very near future. I can't wait for all of it, and I can't wait to bring you all along on all of those journeys with me. So with that being said, let's go ahead and wrap this one up so I can get this mess cleaned up for the electrician tomorrow so he isn't walking around on nails and sawdust and everything else. So thank you guys, as always, for tuning in and coming along on all these different journeys with me. And like I say at the end of every episode, whether it be working on cars, whether it be working on construction projects, I guess now I can put airline plumber on my resume, and that resume just keeps growing deeper and ends up gaining more variety as time goes on, which I certainly can't be upset about. But with that being said, and another big portion of this project wrapped up, and thank you guys, as always, for coming along on all of this stuff with me, that'll be the end of this one. So, as always, be sure to subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment. Be sure to check out the website for manifolds, for merch, for all things good that way, as well as my upcoming Black Friday sale from November 24th through November 27th. The best prices of my manifolds all year round, and everything is in stock and ready to ship. So more details will be released on that in the upcoming weeks, but for right now, I need to clean this place up and get out of here so we can play electrician tomorrow. So thank you guys again, and I will see you all in the next episode.
Dollar maker.